Welcome everybody to another Teacher's Table. I am really jazzed to get started with this one because it's our first ever talkback session with one of our presenters here at the Hive Summit. This, like I said, is brand new. We've never done this at the Hive Summit, but I'm really excited about this sort of back and forth with some of the presenters. So if you could do us a favor, some of the etiquette we have here on any of our teachers' tables, and if you haven't been to one, you can catch one every morning during the summit, and then after the summit we're going to go back to kind of a more regular schedule here. But if you could drop your name in so we know who's here today, where they're from, that kind of thing. And then the other etiquette is, we have two other etiquette pieces. We have one, I want everybody to be as welcoming to everybody that comes to the table. This is a teacher space for all of us to sort of learn and grow from. And so all are welcome at the table. And if somebody comes in, definitely welcome them. Say hi, you know, make a connection. It doesn't have to just be Dene and I that you're here for. You're here for everyone. So definitely do that. And then the other thing is, if something's answering a question from me, what I would love, because I have to sort of curate this on the fly, if you could tag me, so go at and then Mr. Matera. And then if it's for one of the questions, this is kind of new, like if you have a question for Dene and you want me to sort of push it out to him so he doesn't have to worry so much about seeing the thread or not, if you could put my name and then Q. And then I know that's a question you have for Dene. We're gonna try to get through as many as possible, but I can't guarantee we'll get through them all, but we'll see. I'm sure we'll have a great crew and a great time. Let's get Dene on here. So welcome, Dene. So awesome to have you here in the Hive.
And it's so great to be back. It has been such a great experience. All these wonderful things going on. I can't wait to continue.
It's pretty neat. Let's see who we have here. We have Hamdi. Hamdi, like you started, well, my morning, but it was not your morning because you're from Cairo. I can't believe you're here. It's 1 a.m. That's insane, Hamdi. That's insane, but welcome. Carmen, also from Morocco. It's midnight. Like, we're just going through the time zones here. This is crazy. Welcome back, Carmen. And Natalia from Mexico City. Like, this is quite an international crowd we have already. Kyle's here. Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us in our teacher's table here. Yvonne's here from Long Island. This is, what a crew. What a crew.
Amazing.
We have somebody from Australia too. This is blowing my mind. I absolutely love it. Hive Summit is truly a global connection. That's fabulous. I love it. Roberto here. Welcome. Amanda Gray, Tennessee. Love seeing some regulars here. Carrie's here. This is awesome. Great crew, everyone. Jennifer Knox, listening while she cooks. I dig it. That's a little multitasking. You are truly a teacher. All right, so let's get this started. Again, any of you, if there's some questions you had for Dene, you can just cue that up, like I said, with at Mr. Matera, and then put the Q, and then put your question, and I'll sort of put that out. But I know Dene wanted to sort of get to something, and so while we're waiting for some of your questions to come in, Dene, like, why don't you share one of the topics we weren't able to discuss, and we can kind of have an extension to your session here.
All right. Well, I know one of the things that was something I kind of came up with, and thinking about community, thinking about diversity, and how to build those kinds of things in your classrooms or your workspaces, and how to celebrate it. So celebrating diversity, building community. And so there's this word that I've generated called Communiversity. And so basically putting together the two ideas, community and diversity. And so what is Communiversity? And so it's the state of belief that within community, there can be diversity.
Okay.
And there's a great need for that, obviously. And then within diversity is the opportunity to build community. So as I said, I think on the original session, is that those two ideas are part of the same family. They go everywhere together. And while they're two totally separate words, I believe that the power comes when we can connect those two ideas together and show how they together enable us to be better. Just be better people, be better everything. So that's the word, Communiversity.
Communiversity. I like it. I like it. How do you sort of see that play out in your school?
Well, I think you think about Communiversity because of what diversity is. It may not necessarily look the same everywhere, but what I do know is that it's something that you could feel. It's something that when really honed in on, it's something that you can feel in an environment. Communiversity says that we are together because we know what everybody brings to the table, and we appreciate and value what everybody brings. And so we stand together because of all of those things that we can bring to the table, aka teacher's table. See how I did that?
I see what I'm loving this, Dean. Whoo. I was saying before the show, I need more Dean in my life. That's what I need.
Yeah, I love it. I think that we can certainly talk about diversity all day, and we can totally talk about community all day, but why not combine the two principles together and talk about both of them and how they work together hand in hand? I think we get the best of both worlds.
I got to share Roberto's comment here. I love it. Communiversity equals Hive Summit, and I feel like this session right now, having people from around the globe, all dedicated teachers, definitely a diverse set of teachers, probably in age of the teacher themselves, the age they teach, the pedagogies they want to use. There's definitely a huge range of diversity, but we're coming together to form that community to do the best by our students.
Absolutely. And so we learned too in the previous session that diversity, right? We look for it, we lean into it, and we learn from it. We learned those three ideas. And so thinking about the twin, I'll call it, diversity's twin is community. So thinking about the twin, how do we build community? How do we do that in our classrooms, in our schools? And so just like diversity, I have three things that I thought were really, really important. And you'll recognize the first one. The first one is cultivate it.
I do.
I love that word, cultivate. Cultivate like the ground, right? Just like the ground, turn over the soil and ensure the ground is ready to be planted in. And so I won't talk about that too much because I believe that really just speaks for itself. The second thing is to facilitate it. Water the ground, right? It's not good enough just to put the seed in there, but water is necessary. Fertilizer might be necessary. The sun is necessary. Ask questions, for example, that offer opportunities for interaction and engagement.
What I like about that idea, this whole analogy, what I like is, right, we plant an idea, or we plant a goal, whatever you want to say, whatever it is, that plant, that seed is a hope for the future, right? But the difference between true just hope and actual making it happen is that we have to tend to it, right? It's not just that wow, I made all these goals. It's about doing something towards those goals. So it is about that watering, the fertilizer, the tending, seeing what it needs. Too much sunshine, too little sunshine. Where should I plant it? All of that matters for us to get to the places we want to go.
Definitely, and that's part of the facilitation process. As teachers, right, we are not necessarily standing in front of the classroom, but we don't leave the room either. We have to stay in the room, right, for facilitation, even though we're not necessarily standing in front of the class in charge of every little thing. We're giving students that opportunity for empowerment, but at the same time, we are nurturing them as they go through that process. So facilitation is key as a second step or a second thought process. And the last thing I wanted to mention.
Please do. Uh-oh. We lost you, Dean. Uh-oh. We lost Dean here. Oh, you're back. You're back. All right. So you literally cut out on the last thing I want to tell you.
I'm so glad. I'm back.
You're back.
Okay. All right. So we had cultivate it, facilitate it, and communicate it.
I like it.
And so the last thing being communicate. So thinking about communication, say it loud. Don't keep community to yourself. Let somebody know, and maybe there's a way for them to be able to benefit from it too. So building community, thinking about ways to cultivate, facilitate, and communicate.
I love it. Now we have a question here, and it is going on point to what you asked here. How do I cultivate an appreciation of diversity in a classroom that is homogeneous? Primary classroom, we have a diversity in the kind of books we read together. What else? Question mark. Great
Hmm.
question, by the way.
That is definitely a great question. And so when I think of diversity, I think of it is not just limited to gender, it is not just limited to color or race. There is so many ways that diversity can be celebrated. And so one thing that kind of comes to mind is just the idea of being able to ask questions about people's experiences. Your students all have, even though they might be, all the same age, all the same gender, all the same um, culture, for example, their stories are still not the same. and so, while I may be, of the African American race, my experience is not necessarily the same as the experiences of everybody else that's the same color as me. Same thing goes for my gender. Obviously, I've had experiences that some haven't had, and so I think that when we can pose questions in a space that are are interesting questions, captivating questions, questions that everybody can participate in, that also allow for a variation. I think we give students the opportunity to see that, um, maybe there's some similarities between the experiences, and then there are also are going to be those differences that students are able to see as well, but also understanding that the power is being able to have that kind of conversation or discussion in the classroom that showcases everybody's individual experience, even though there's going to be those similarities and differences.
That's good. That's a good answer too. And I think like anything we want to sort of bring down the walls on, we have to be open, right? We have to have that discussion, and as best we can too, not be fearful of that discussion, and really just be open and welcoming to any and all sort of discussions that come from that, and honor the, as you kind of say, that like we're the only you we can ever be, right? Like, so honoring the fact that my students have a perspective that's all to their own. Each individual student has their own, and like you said, collectively they have some shared experiences, but individually they all have unique experiences, even among whatever subset you want to say, whether it's race, religion, grade level, even age. Not all 10-year-olds are the same, and I teach 10-year-olds, and I can tell you they are not all the same.
Another thought just came to my mind, Michael, while you were talking. When I think about diversity, I think about all these different things. And so, what if I had a bag that you could not see through of things, and inside of that bag are various types of things? Maybe there's a gumball, maybe there's a stick of gum, maybe there's a tack, maybe there's a paper clip. So you have all these different kinds of things that are totally random, right? And they all serve a purpose. They all have a function. They all have a role that they play. But at the same time, they're all different. But they're all in the bag. So what kind of message might be demonstrated through a simple demonstration like that, where you can show that all of these items are different, but they all serve a purpose. They all have a different story, right? They all have a different reason for being here, but at the same time, they all have a function and a purpose, and that makes them relevant. That makes them valuable.
I love it. Well, all right, we have sort of another question here queued up. Yvonne says, our district is implementing a diversity committee which will include staff, students, and members from our local community. I'm looking forward to being part of this community. This is part one of a two-part. And here is the second part. As a librarian, I'm always finding literature that incorporates books from different cultures. And so I guess I wanted to take that and ask you, what are ways we can make sure, like when you sort of go down the rabbit hole of noticing every kid as an individual, as a unique individual, which is a beautiful like rabbit hole to sort of go down, it gets into like, well, how do you do justice to that individuality? I remember when I started sort of teaching, the big word was differentiation. Like that was what like the districts were saying. Well, we're going to differentiate. We're all going to differentiate. We're going to meet the needs of every individual kid. And I, as a new teacher, I was like, how do I like actually differentiate? Like, because at some level you need like a system, right? You need like to sort of apply it to a whole. And so I guess where I'm going with this is when we're talking about like diversity and like here as a librarian, like how do you find meaningful connections so that you're not just buying like one book for like this race, one book for this gender, one book, like you want there to be like a meaningful collection, right? Not just kind of a token book in 10 different categories.
And so I think I think that question is multifaceted, in my opinion, because I think that we should never just get a book for the purposes of getting a book, because we don't have that kind of book represented in our library. Now, that's nice to be able to grab it and have it, but I think there has to be, at the very foundation, right, there should be some sort of understanding that it's not just about having the book, it's about the understanding of the foundation for diversity, right? So our foundation for diversity is the representation, understanding that we all have a valid role to play, and then looking for the diversity that even exists already within what we already have. I think there's certainly diversity represented in books that we currently read, but I think also we need to make sure that we are not, how do I say this? I don't want it to look like you're targeting a certain population of people, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? We want it to be sort of open in the sense that every student feels comfortable, and at the same time, they also feel represented. And so one of the conversations I've had with a couple of educators is just there might not be a whole lot already out for certain, representing certain groups of people. And so maybe this is an opportunity for them or for us to become writers of literature like that. It could also be an opportunity for us to investigate our students and understand our students more and see what it is that they are already reading and use that as an opportunity to sort of bring in those more diverse books so that we're being intentional and we are bringing in things that they already are sort of attached to.
I love your answer. I mean, like, this is you're dropping some great knowledge. Lots of people in the chat are saying they're loving your answers to various things. You're really helping a lot of people out on this. Roberto here says we are all individuals and can become our better of ourselves by cultivating diversity, right? Like, because I think right on like what you're saying too, it goes to like being the best you too, right? Like if I'm proud of who I am and then I'm not ashamed of like whatever it is, like race, religion, like gender, if I'm just like being me. I loved what you said in your session about like a bird doesn't like question about tweeting and should it tweet different or should it roar like a lion. It just tweets and it's just happy to tweet.
Right. I think Michael, the words don't always come out like I want them to come out every time, but I think that achievement, perseverance, success is not attached to someone of a specific gender, race, color. It's not. it's universal, it's diverse, right? Success and achievement is diverse. And so when I look at books, I try to really understand the meaning and the purpose and the deep aspects of it, the characters, the roles they play. And I think it's so important. While we want representation in literature, it has to be there for sure. They
Yep.
have to have examples. While we want that, I don't want it to seem like that. Okay, I don't want it to look like we can't all be in that space of success, that space of achievement, because truly, we all have that opportunity to do that. And I think that when we celebrate diversity, it creates the space, it creates the opportunity for us to see that we can all be successful and we can all achieve, often with the help of other people that are not necessarily like us. And so that's a good segue, if I may.
Ooh,
Um,
Dean's taking us somewhere. Dean, everybody strap in. We're going on a ride. Let's do this, Dean.
so I wrote something post Journey to the YNU, and I'm really excited about it because there's a message, a really big message inside of it, and it's called
Yeah, you gotta move it over there.
diversity. It's not just about you, it's about us. And that subtitle, Together We're Better. So I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit because inside of it, and by the way, it's a play, so it's very different than a traditional reading book or chapter book. But it's a play about a boy named Devin who is an athlete at a middle school, and he is very much so involved in athleticism. He is always involved in that, but at the same time, he doesn't feel like he has anything outside of that to offer. The school is having a variety show for the very first time, and he, feels pressured to participate because all his friends are participating. But at the same time, he doesn't feel like he has anything useful for other people to understand, or to show or to give. And so he battles with that. He battles with the idea that I don't have anything to give. All these other people are so talented, but what about me? Like, so he has a conversation with his mom about it, and his mom basically ignites the match for change. There is a transition that Devin goes through in the play, thanks to some supportive people who have the ability to see in somebody else what they may not see in themselves. And so by the end of the play, Devin, something happens with Devin, and I guess you'll have to you'll have to read it in order to find out exactly what happens.
Look at that cliffhanger. See, I told you. I'm glad that we all buckled up there. Abashir writes an interesting point here. Appreciating diversity as a whole and not bringing their attention to any particular difference. To appreciate differences as a whole. She loves it. And then I gotta give you a nice shout out by Roberto again. He says, Dean, you are with the choir and your message needs to be heard. Be free to speak openly. Thank you, Roberto, for definitely opening that up. That's awesome.
Certainly appreciate that.
And then now we have Yvonne's got a question for you. She did the teacher's table etiquette here. She put the Q in front of it. I dig it. As Dean mentioned, I didn't want to build a collection because we need to incorporate it into our library. I want it to be a breathing part of our library. How can I keep my students involved? Oh, that's a nice little twist there.
How do I keep my students involved? You know what? I believe that as a teacher, it's my job to have an appreciation for learning and literature. And I shouldn't just model reading from certain books because I like certain books. Maybe I read a book because of the message that it has in it. Maybe I share that book with my students because there's something in there that makes me ask a question, or maybe there's something in there that I don't understand. I think it creates the perfect storm for us to not limit what we read ourselves as a model for students. And I think it also gives us an opportunity to not be the expert, so to speak. And what I mean by that is I might not fully understand the content of what it is I'm reading, but it does create a possibility for conversation with our students. What do you think that might mean? And so, how am I answering that question? Keeping them involved? Well, I think a good way to keep them involved is to incorporate their experiences in what we're reading. Have you ever had such and such happen to you as it happened in the book? Has that ever happened to any of you? And then that creates a wow, that creates such a ground for cultivation, continued cultivation, because you create a conversation around this book, and now this book means so much more than it did when you first started reading it. You've now connected the kids to the book. They have feel like it's relevant for them, and now they're able to take what they are getting from this book, learning from this book, apply it to their lives, or maybe even read the next book, or maybe even think about, okay, well, maybe I need to read more books like that, because you have now shown me that this book is not just words on a page. It's so much more than that.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, she probably already knows this, but I think like you're advocating the being open, right? Like open to share that power, to share the reading power, to share, like to just even have conversations with kids, go to like have lunch with them, like talk about like what they talk about. Also, what do you think about this idea of, and this is going to sound really like antithetical to what we're talking about, but what about like shifting? This is after, like, I agree with everything we've said. I want to make sure we're clear about that. Like, I think having diverse set of books is good. I think talking about diversity, celebrating diversity. But what about also like shifting to some similarities? Like you had spoke about building community. So like also sharing the fact that like this diverse group, as we focus on diversity, you know, like, I don't know, like how many of you kids like to play video games, right? Like, and I bet you that would transcend all gender, you know, race, religion, right? Yeah, like get it in frame. So, you know, what do you think about that? Like in a conversation about diversity, taking that moment to sort of highlight the community, to highlight the similarity in that same time when you're trying to actually explain diversity.
I think that's awesome, Michael. It's not just the resolve, right? I'm not showing you all of these things. We're not having all these conversations about diversity to ultimately arrive at the point of community, right? We are infusing community in diversity so that we can understand that community is not just the end all be all, but it's something that we can have in the presence of diversity. I think that's an excellent point. Excellent point.
Nice, nice. So I have a question for everyone else, and I'm sure Dean kind of wants to know this as well. So I'm going to bring up sort of Dean's page here. This is, you know, Dean's day one page. I got a good. Does everybody notice the joke there? Like I'm curious if anybody gets. Do you see it? Be lay full. I show this to my mother, and she's like, "Why you spelled like? Why did you put a graphic over the word?" And I'm like, "No, like it's be play." Okay, whatever. Moving on. So I wanted to ask those of you that have seen Dean's thing, what was something that like you really loved and it resonated with you? I thought Dean's session was jam packed full of goodness, and if you haven't had a chance to try out his recipe here, it is good. Dean was one of the first ones I filmed, and so I've tried the recipe, and it is tasty. So yeah, I'm curious, what'd you guys pull out of Dean's? And I'm sure he really wants to know. Let's see here. While we wait for some of those to come in, let's see what some of the people were saying. Jennifer Knox says she loves the questions that you pose for students to connect to literature. That was awesome. So she's
Thanks,
digging
Jennifer.
those. Yeah, she's digging those answers. Abashir says, "Thank you for lifting up similarities. Much needed. We shouldn't only be talking about differences." I really liked how Dean sort of worded that, right? Like our goal isn't to eventually lead to community. We have to almost be taking these steps in stride together. And I love all the things that are happening to sort of highlight how different we all are. I love that we're trying to bring those similarities, but I like that it's got to be walked together, right? Like
Yes.
look, that's so awesome. Let's see, Carmen. I can't believe Carmen. Like this is your like 1 a.m. watch time here. My choice of read alouds have changed for me because of the students I have. It's an American school, but the connections are different now. Carmen and I both taught in an American school, and when you teach overseas like that, it is unbelievable. American schools capture all these like businessmen from like Japan, Korea, like the local population, as well as, just a huge diverse set from Europe. She's in Morocco, so I'm sure she has plenty of Europeans in there. And so you end up with, my school had 42 nationalities represented in it, and it's just, it's a different world, for sure. This brings me, I just saw a few likes on the like button. Our like goal, I didn't know how many people would come to a talk back. I've never done one of these. So I set our like goal at 15. I see we have 16 people watching right now. So, tap that like button. We can hit today's like goal for sure. All right, let's see. We have Amanda Gray saying she loves the recipe cards. That's awesome. You gotta eat, right? I just like this idea. We're feeding the heart, we're feeding the mind, and why not feed the belly? We can't leave that out. Right? Isn't there that age-old saying, if you want somebody to fall in love with you, it's through the belly.
I can't remember the exact phrase, but there's something that
There's something to that. If anybody can finish that for me, that'd be awesome. Yvonne says she made the burrito.
Ooh.
I didn't make 20 of them, but they were delish. I love the freezer. Like I said, it works. It works, my friend. Roberto says, amazing idea of highlighting similarities. We as learners helping understand the best in diversity. Dig it. Jennifer Knox saying she's loving the recipes as well. So thank you, Dean, for sharing yours with us. All right, here we go. We got some takeaways here. Kyle saying, my major takeaway was that all classrooms should be student-centered to begin with as a base, but student-driven as we are striving for.
Kyle, that just ignites my fire. It ignites my fire just to think about it, because, oh my gosh, I just really believe that you take the limits off when you determine as a teacher that this classroom is going to be student-driven. Why? Because it's not about the teacher as much as it is about the students. And when you can put the students in the seat of the driver, there are no limitations to what can happen in your classroom. I 115% believe that with all of my heart. And it just gives me chills to think about the idea. Yeah, student-driven is what we should all be doing everywhere. Student-centered is what we should all be doing, but student-driven is what we have the opportunity to do. That was a really great point. Excellent.
That's awesome. We have Becky joining us, so thank you, Becky. She said she finished up dinner quickly so she could be here. Dig it. Jennifer Knox admitted she totally forgot to like. We have surpassed our like goal, so we got to do a little confetti here. I gotta add Dean. Oh, I forgot to add Dean. Dean's dancing. We're just gonna promise Dean's dancing there. I can see Dean. You can't, but he's doing it. He's doing it. Thanks for the confetti party, everybody. Again, if you're new to Teacher's Table, we do that because it's showing it's community, right? It's showing that we all did it. We're all listening. We're all hitting that like button. I dig it. Let's see, Hamdi. Hamdi says, I am the best version. So what she took from the thing is, I'm the best version of myself. Knowing that as an educator to jump out of my comfort zone. So 2 great points that you definitely highlighted in your session, Dean, and were huge positive takeaways for me. I mean, I absolutely love both those concepts.
Wow, that's chilling. I love it, because who might be waiting on you to be your best self? You never know what's connected to that, right?
That's right.
Right? If I'm trying to be someone else, then I'm missing out on all the things that can happen if I'm me. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could talk about that for another hour, but I won't do it.
Nice. Roberto says, Dean, you are the glue that brings us together from diversity to community. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, Jennifer Knox might finish it. The way to your loved one's heart is through the belly. See? And like Teacher's Table, there's a reason I named it Teacher's Table. Everything that I love happens around the table. We play games, we talk, and we eat.
That's right. Yes.
Let's see. Ooh, Roberto gave it to me in another language here,
Ooh.
which I'm not even gonna attempt it.
Barriga llena, corazón contento. I don't know if I said that right.
Full belly, happy heart. I dig it. I love this community. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Jennifer. Carmen says, I love how Dene makes the connection of diversity in nature. Everything and everyone has a purpose.
Wow.
I just got chills on that, Carmen.
Wow.
Ooh. Ooh.
Wow. So many things, so many examples of that. Oh.
I know. It's so true. I love it. Let's see. We got some confetti parties. Woo, woo, congrats. Abashir, we do this celebration all the time. We just got to get to those like goals, and we usually do it. So thank you for being part of the community. Let's see here. That's what we got up to for sort of comments about your session. I thought it was, like I said, jam-packed, Dene. I absolutely loved it. I want to also bring up here. Boo, 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 boo. Hang on. I'm almost there. Boop. I want to bring up Dene's sort of site here about celebrating diversity and building community. This is a linked post on loading here on his Hive Summit here, so under additional resources, so you can check this, read it later. It is an excellent post, but I don't know if there's anything Dene wants to pull out of there without giving away too much. You seem to be good at building the old suspense there. You did it with the play.
Well, perhaps I will, for those that would like to read it, I would kind of just let them read it. But that first quote that you highlighted there, diversity is the art of thinking independently together. Right? That really just, for me, it puts it right in a nice little fancy box with a bow on it. It really helps you to understand that there is value in our independent individual experiences, our pathways, our journeys, but it's not really, truly the celebration of diversity unless we can do it together. And so that is almost the most important word in that quote is together. Our individual experiences enable us to come together.
That's good. That's solid, Dene. That's solid. The other thing I wanted to share a little bit about Dene's session here, or really any of the sessions, one of the things I want to point out, because I don't know if everybody even notices about it, is down here we have these wonderful resources. There's the sketch notes. When I was building the website, I was nervous, like, are people going to scroll that far? Because you see the video and you stop, and you're like, boom, I hit play. But if you scroll a little further, we got some wonderful resources here too. We got sketch notes by Monica Spillman, amazing artist. We got some notes that were actually crowdsourced this year, and people from the Hive Summit community volunteered to do these. And we have 9 different people that have done 9 different notes, and they were all excellent. And then this is also new, proof of PD, and you might not click this because your district might not give you any PD credit for this, but built into the proof of PD is 2 questions you have to kind of fill out to reflect on it. And when you print it out, it ends up being like one page that's for your district, but again, your district might not allow it. But then the other page is a nice reflection sheet, which is going to have you sort of synthesize what you learn and synthesize your action steps. So I really strongly recommend all of you guys take advantage of that, because you can keep that document so that 6 months down the road, when you know you loved what Dene talked about, but you're like, what did Dene talk about? You're going to have those action steps. You're going to have those things that were those pearls you pulled out of his session. So just something I wanted to take a moment and kind of do a little commercial for what we have here at the Hive Summit. Oh, and you could scroll even further. There's even more stuff below that. there's my cliffhanger.
Very good, Michael. Excellent.
I'm trying to take a page from you, Dean. You do it so well, so naturally.
You did great. And so if I may share, I know we've said a lot of things today, but if I may share one quote by Martin Luther King that I believe is very poignant for our time and where we are, and just life in general, and also connected to diversity and community. And so he says, we may all have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. We may all have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And so that can be taken physically, literally, or metaphorically.
That's good. I like that.
Now, and so as we begin a new school year, as we're walking back into school or teaching virtually online distance learning with our students, I'm just really challenged. I'm challenged to consider ways to build community and celebrate diversity. I'm challenged to create an environment that is student driven so that our students can be their best selves as we as the teachers are modeling what it means to be our best selves. I'm challenged to really understand the power that is inside, the power to be the best you that you could ever be, and the only you that could ever be. And thinking about the fact that somebody, we may not know who that is, right? Maybe it's that person that's going to end up in our classroom that really, really needs us. And we may not even know it. Sometimes we're so busy being the best version of ourselves that you're feeling or meeting a need of somebody and you didn't even realize that you were doing it. It was all based on the fact that you decided that you were going to understand the power of you and tap into that inward power that you have to be the only you that you can be. And by so doing, helping people, even unaware, right, to bridge, to be a bridge, to fill gaps, to be encouraged, to be empowered, to be enlightened, to be inspired, to be motivated, to be cultivated, to be built, all of that, right? Because of your decision to be the best version of yourself. And so I'm challenging everybody, including myself, right, to take something that you've learned from here, or all of it, really, right, and think about how we can make this year so great, even amid all of the obstacles and the challenges. How can we make this year maybe even the best year that we've had, given all of the obstacles and the challenges? Because as we learned in the first session, the challenges and the obstacles reveal something about us. Whew. I could talk about that a little bit more too.
No, that's awesome. That is good stuff, Dean. From the MLK quote kicking off, if I was to unpack some of the things you just said, but like the MLK quote is fantastic and one that is, I mean, it's amazing. And then two, what I want to say is what I loved about your session and what I loved about just that last segment there, which there were echoes of your session there. Your openness and pride mixed with hopefulness, mixed with support and love of being you. I just would imagine like being a kid in your class, you're giving me permission to be where I'm at in life, but also giving me like permission to also be excited about where I'm going. And you're giving me that faith, you're giving me that hope, you're giving me that love. But the cool thing is, like, by your words resonated through your actions, it makes it believable.
I'm honored. I'm so honored. The journey to the Y and U, Michael, starts, the very first chapter is called When They Don't Know Your Name. That's the title of the first chapter, because it really is truly, does anybody see me? Does anyone know I'm here? I don't have a name like everybody else, but am I important? I'm important, right? I think. I don't know. Am I important? So it starts from the idea that nobody recognizes me, or I don't have a name, right? And then it works its way through 10 chapters until finally chapter number 11 is called The Why. as in the letter Y, but also at the same time, it's the WHY. And so you really walk through a 11 chapter span of time where you get a chance to move from that feeling of maybe, okay, I don't know who I am, or maybe I don't feel hopeful. But then at the end, right, you feel empowered, or the goal is to have that hope, to understand what hope is, and to know that even though they may not know your name, that does not mean that you don't have a purpose, and that does not mean that you don't have value, and that you have a journey that is going to ultimately lead you to be the best version of yourself.
So, one of my, like, this is a cheesy story, but I'm gonna tell it anyways, and it's so true to me. I remember reading The Crucible. I don't know if you read it.
Long time.
And then and I loved it, and then subsequently like watched the movie The Crucible as well. And I remember the scene very vividly in the movie when John Proctor at the end, like for those of you not familiar with the book, like this witchcraft, happened in his town. Eventually, like he becomes sort of the scapegoat to the whole thing. He's gonna get killed, like put to death, like trial wise, and some of the town elders kind of like realize that this is like hysteria, like it's nuts, like he didn't really do it, but they kind of painted themselves in a corner. They need him to be the scapegoat, but they don't really want to kill him because they know he didn't really do it. And so they kind of come up with a way like, hey, if you just sort of sign this paper with your name that sort of says you did all this stuff, but like you're admitting you did it, we'll let you go. I'm like no charges, no nothing, like free, like, or you're about to die, you're about to get hung. And I just remember this scene so vividly. He says he won't do it, and everybody around him, like his loved ones and like some of the town elders, are like, why won't you just sign the stupid paper? And he says, because it's my name, and it's the only name I will ever have. Like, he is not going to sign his name to something. The value of his name means so much to him. Even if it's his life, he's not going to do it. And so from that movie, I gotta say, like I said, super cheesy, but I took from that, like, I want my name to mean something. And that doesn't mean like accolades. That doesn't mean I need everybody to know me. But like, when I put my name to something, I want to be proud of it. Like, because my name's associated with that. My name's attached to that. And I often talk to my students a little bit about that because I want them to have pride in their work, even if it's just classwork. Even if it's not, we try to make things authentic and connect to like the real world and the outside world and have more than one reader on things. But I don't always do that on every project. So there's a bunch of stuff that just I see. But it like should still matter. Like you're putting your name to it. And when you start to think that way, that you are you, and be proud of who you are, and what do you want your name to represent when you are present and when you're not, that starts to shift your actions.
Michael, that was certainly not a cheesy story at all.
Okay.
I believe it really brings out the importance of knowing who you are, because when and I feel like I'm starting to go in circles a little bit because I keep coming back to that same statement. But when you know who you are really unstoppable, right? You cannot be told otherwise when you know who you are. And you talked about, it's not just about maybe the academia. It's deeper than that. He didn't sign his name because of his character. There was something inside of him that said, no, that will be reflective of my character, and my character is a reflection of who I am. And so I'm not going to mar my character by being dishonest and not signing and signing my name on that line. I'm not going to do it. And I don't want to think about leaving this place, but when we do, right, we won't get to take anything with us except for those things. That our character. That's going to be our final hurrah. Who this person was. And so that we need to make it as good as we can make it. So that was really powerful. I thank you for sharing that, because I think that's an awesome connection. Awesome.
Well, thanks for echoing it. It seems like some people liked the story. I appreciate you guys being okay with that story. And I'm excited here. We have Cheryl Bear sharing a story here. I always ask my students when someone hears your name, how will they remember you? So kind of playing on that same thing. And this is kind of exciting for me. Cheryl Bear works with me at my school. So I didn't know Cheryl Bear was going to be here. I love having you on Teacher's Table, Cheryl. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
and I think that's like a good point, right? Like reminding kids that your name does matter, right? And then going with Dean's message from his day one presentation, being proud of who you are, right? And I loved the point where it's both accepting who you are in this moment and who you can become. Like that duality is pretty powerful.
And the choice.
Choice. That's right. That's so true, right? Let's see here. What does Roberto say? Roberto weighs in here. Wow, what a great example is my name. Not cheesy at all. One amazing exercise that I did in one of my leadership workshops was to try to write my own eulogy. That exercise was powerful. I don't know if you ever checked out the book, Roberto, 6 Word Memoirs. Is kind of a neat thing. I forgot the magazine that started that, but there was a magazine, an article that started that, and then it turned into a book where they asked all sorts of people, famous people and regular people, to write 6-word memoirs. And it is amazing, that exercise. And I actually took that exercise and put it into my tests. Like I give them bonus points, not really in my grade, but I do a game. We don't need to get into that. But there are these extra little bonus points that have nothing to do with their grade, to write these little 6-word memoirs from some of the people we study. And it's an awesome exercise to sort of balance. It's a good creative writing exercise. Let's see here. We got some more here.
I see one by Kyle there.
Yeah. Let's see, Kyle. Ooh, clicked the wrong button here. And when you are gone, who remembers your name? Who keeps your flame? Who tells your story? Hamilton just came to my mind. Nice job, Kyle. Nice job. I think too, a friend and I were chit-chatting the other day about making an impact, and as adults, we often measure success, sadly, by dollars and cents. Now, not usually the teacher community. But as adults, like that tends to be the gold stars of adulthood, right? Like how much money you make. And as Dean pointed out, we can't take money with us. We can't take any of the things that money can buy with us. But what will be left behind is the communities you are a part of. What will be left behind are the communities you impacted. So thinking about your time, not your money, but your time, and where are you putting your time? In what communities, in what spaces, and in what ways are you giving your time to those communities? I think that's what will live on, and that's how a flame will be carried forward.
And so 2 things, responding to you, Michael, 2 things there. I've always said I may never make $1 million as a teacher. I may never make a lot of money as a teacher, but I will make an impact. Okay? I've always made that declaration, although I wouldn't be opposed to making more money as a teacher.
I'll take a few more gold stars myself, but...
But at the end of the day, I will make an impact, and that is my goal and intention, and the reason why I get up every day and do it with fidelity and excitement and enthusiasm. The second thing is, when it comes to success, I really think that success is a very individual thing. We really have to be the measure of our own success, because as you were talking, it's not necessarily money that is the success. It's not that we have all these cars that brings us to a point of success. It's not that we live in this wonderful house that brings us to a point of success. It is when we feel like we have accomplished, or when we feel that sense of fulfillment, our purpose has been achieved. If I pass away with $30 in my wallet, if I pass away with $3,000 in my wallet, it doesn't matter, because as long as I know that I did what I was supposed to do, I was successful in my endeavors, and I was able to to make an impact. And obviously an impact is not something that's easily forgotten, right? When something hard hits another surface, that's impact, right? If I drop a glass on the floor and it breaks, that's an impact, right? It's going to leave an impression. There's going to be evidence to suggest that something has come in contact with something else, and because of that, I can't forget it.
Right? Steve Jobs, his core mission, right? Do you know this? His philosophy or whatever is he wanted to leave a small dent in the universe. Just a little, just a little. And wow. So I somewhat bring that up to your point of it's an individual thing, what we measure as success, right? Like if Steve Jobs thinks he just made a small dent in the universe, like if he doesn't even feel like he hit success on that, like, ooh. But the other thing too, I gotta say, and I'm just as guilty about this, some of my closest friends, I surround myself with driven people, which means what happens is the success you talk about, the mountaintop that we want to be on top of, it's a shifting mountaintop, right? Like where I'm at today is what I would have defined as success 5 years ago. But now that I'm here, I want to be there, right? And this happens in life. And I think that this is a piece of the teachers we have here at Teachers Table, the teachers we have coming to Hive Summit. These are driven people that are taking time out of their summers, out of their weekends. Hamdi just went to bed. It is almost 2 a.m. there. She's staying up to watch us two guys talk. Like, that's amazing, right? These are driven people that obviously kind of have a perennial shifting mountaintop. But what we need to do is also take a deep breath and recognize where we've come from, that we are on yesterday's mountaintop, right? So that we can feel that growth.
Yeah. Let me, Jennifer, I see Jennifer made a comment right here. I wanted to bring that up.
Right.
She says, I think athletes call that leaving it all on the field. Okay, so yes, let me just tell you how much I agree with that statement. And so thinking about community, what we're doing right here, we're getting filled. It's like our tanks are getting filled up, and we're going to be prepared, ready, excited, motivated to start this year with such great fervor. And so when I think of leaving it all on the field, when I leave it all on the field, then that gives me the opportunity to go get filled all up again, right? It gives me an opportunity to get filled up again. And so, when we leave it all on the field, we give it all we have, because we realize it's a greater picture. It's bigger than just me. I want to do this for those that are going to come behind me, so that they could be their best selves and all of that. And so I believe 100% that and I may just be saying this personally, but giving 100% at all times is all. It's me. I believe that when we leave it all on the field, it gives us the opportunity to come back and be rejuvenated, reignited, develop that passion again, or find that why, be lit like that flame again, throw some wood on the fire, however you want to look at it, right? It allows us to be filled up again. And so that process of filling up and emptying out, I think, is so important, because it shows that we're not focused on ourselves as much as we are on those that we are serving. Not to say that we don't need to focus on ourselves, but it really identifies that we are servants. We are servants by way of empowering others, our students, namely, right, to be.
Like on that, like Roberto here said it really nice here. I'm going to bring it up, Roberto's comment. Our success is the future success of our students. We will be remembered by our students' successes. If we've made a difference in our students' life, we have done our job well. I think that's a truth right there.
Amen. True.
It's so true, right?
True.
And again, on Roberto here, really, he's feeling fed by all the food we're giving him here at this banquet. I dig it. Roberto, I hope, I'm gonna give a small plug. I hope you definitely have checked out some of the Hive Summit. We got recipe cards for each of the speakers, and then we have some Busy Bee recipes. I think there's like 12 videos that you can also check out. All great recipes. Check them out. You can feed that belly as well as mine. All right, so Dean, I gotta say we're at the hour mark here. I think we should sort of wrap up, but it has been an absolute pleasure having you on this Teacher's Table Talk Back. And I gotta say too, now that we're face to face here, thank you so much for coming to the Teacher's Table in the morning the last 2 days too. It's been so lovely having you part of that.
It's an honor. I love learning, and I will continue to support, because that's what it's all about, lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning. And I gotta say to everybody else, thank you so much for coming to this first ever talkback session on the Hive Summit. We're gonna be doing talkback sessions with, I think I have every speaker scheduled so far except one. So hopefully we get them on the schedule. So check the calendar. There are links straight to these on the calendar of the Hive Summit page. So definitely give that a look. And I really appreciate everybody. This community is so wonderful and such a giving community. And I appreciate you guys being here and hanging with us and having this heart-to-heart with us all. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We have a great presenter tomorrow, Alexis Wiggins. She is a phenomenal educator, and I can't wait for you guys to see her session. All right, everybody. Dean, let's wave goodbye. Let's bring them out here. Boom. All right, guys, take care, and see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time if you want to join us on the Teacher's Table. Peace out.